I'm going to tell you something you've never heard at a dealership. That Toyota Hilux in front of you. The one your neighbor just spent 60 grand on. I can show you 3 vehicles sitting in my shop right now that will outlast it. They'll handle Canadian winters better. And when they break, and everything breaks eventually, you'll pay literally half to fix them. I know that sounds insane. I'm a mechanic. I'm supposed to want you buying expensive parts. But I don't work for a dealer. I work for myself. For 30 years. And what I've seen is this: the badge is lying to you. Most Canadians think there's only one truck that matters. One brand that doesn't break. But I'm about to show you 4 that should terrify that brand. Because they're better, tougher, and they'll save you thousands. My name's Jack. I'm 55 years old. And I've been running this shop for 30 years straight. 30 years of watching what actually breaks down, what actually lasts, and what actually costs people their hard-earned cash at the pump and the parts counter. I've got no brand to sell you. I don't work for Toyota, Ford, or anybody else. All I've got is 3 decades of turning wrenches, lifting vehicles on this hoist, and learning one simple thing: what the badge says and what actually happens are 2 very different things. I've worked from the prairies to the Shield. I've seen vehicles do 300,000 kilometers like nothing. I've seen expensive trucks quit at 80,000. And I've learned that the vehicle sitting in your driveway right now might be costing you thousands more than it should. That's what we're fixing today. Let's count down. Number 4, Mazda. Look, I know what you're thinking. Mazda. The brand your neighbor's cousin bought once and didn't like the color. Here's the thing about that logic: it's the same logic that kept people scared of Japanese cars 40 years ago. Modern Mazda is not what Mazda was. And it's sure as hell not what people still think it is. A Mazda CX-5, a Mazda 3, these aren't complicated machines. Mazda refuses to over-engineer. They've got a philosophy they call Skyactiv. And what that means is, simpler engines, fewer things to break, less weight, less stress. The whole formula is smart. I had a customer, Wright, brings in a 2018 Mazda CX-5 last year with 287,000 kilometers on the odometer. 287,000. Nothing catastrophic. Oil changes, brake pads, tires. That's it. Not because she's a saint with maintenance, she's decent, but not obsessive. It's because Mazda didn't ask the engine to do too much. Here's where Canadians are sleeping on this one. When something does break on a Mazda, you're not paying the Toyota tax. Parts are cheap. Labor's straightforward. Your mechanic doesn't need a special computer just to read the engine codes. A Mazda CX-5 is $5,000 to $8,000 less to buy than a RAV4. The servicing. About $20 a year more than Honda. That's nothing. That's rounding error. Now, I'll be straight with you. Mazda's resale value doesn't stick like a Toyota does. You won't get your money back the same way. So if you're thinking 2 years, trade it in, this isn't the pick. But if you actually plan to keep it, if you want to drive it until it's old and gray and barely costs you anything on the way, Mazda stops a lot of people in their tracks. The catch is simple: you've got to like driving it. Because Mazda puts handling first. Everything feels tight, responsive, like it actually wants to turn. That's either your thing or it isn't. But for a machine that goes the distance and doesn't bleed you dry, Mazda's smarter money than people realize. Number 3, Honda. This one, nobody argues with me on. Honda has been the backbone of Canadian roads for 20 years. Honda CR-V, Honda Civic, the Accord, these machines are everywhere because they work. And they work in conditions that would make most cars quit. Here's why Honda wins, and it's not magic. It's conservative engineering. Honda doesn't chase trends. They don't stuff a million sensors and computer systems into the engine bay and hope something doesn't fail. They build engines that are proven. They've been refining the same basic architectures for years. And that refinement means reliability. I've got Hondas in here with 350,000 kilometers. Happens more than you'd think. The transmissions last. The engines don't develop carbon buildup like some others. And when something does need attention, parts are everywhere. That's not nothing. That's huge. In Canada, that matters. If you break down 2 hours from town, you need parts. You need to get fixed. Honda's network is dense. You can find a mechanic in Fort McMurray. You can find one in Muskoka. That's a genuine reliability feature when you're stretched across a country this big. Another thing, Honda holds value. Not Toyota level, but close enough. If you decide in year 4 that you want something different, you'll get decent money back. That math works. The only thing to know, Honda's real sweet spot is the smaller stuff. CR-V, Civic. The bigger trucks and SUVs, the Pilot, the Ridgeline, they're good, but if you need something beastier, there's better options. But if you're just asking for something that starts every morning, doesn't complain about 20 below, and doesn't empty your wallet at the shop, Honda's the answer for about 70% of Canadian drivers. And that's not hype. That's 30 years of watching the things actually work. Number 2, Hyundai. Now this is where I lose half the room. Because Hyundai spent 25 years being the brand your dad told you was garbage. He's not wrong about the 1990s. But it's 2026. And Hyundai isn't that brand anymore. Think about what happened here. Hyundai realized they couldn't compete on luxury, couldn't compete on image. So they did one thing, they committed to warranty and reliability like nobody else in the mainstream. I'm talking 10-year powertrain coverage in some regions. I'm talking they're so confident in their stuff they'll back it with their name for a full decade. Why does that matter? Because nobody making mass-market trucks puts that kind of confidence out there. Nobody except Hyundai. And they're doing it because they know it works. I'll give you an example. The new Hyundai Santa Fe. Solid 4-cylinder. Simple transmission. Real winter traction control. Buy one, service it properly, you're looking at a machine that'll do what a Toyota does for 10 grand less on the initial purchase. And if something breaks in year 5, you're not paying. Warranty covers it. Here's the honest part, Hyundai's interior tech is still playing catch-up to the big names. Some of their infotainment systems are clunky. And if you need a truck that can tow 3 tons off-road, this isn't it. They're not there yet. But for families. For people doing normal Canadian things. Snow, highway commutes, occasional backcountry exploring. Hyundai's built something smart. Parts are getting easier to find. Mechanics know them now. And they're learning that the reputation shift is real. I didn't believe it 3 years ago. Honest to God, I didn't. But I've watched Hyundai sit on my hoist more and more. And mostly what I see is, it works, it's simple, and it doesn't break. That's the whole game. Number 1, Subaru. And if you've watched this far, you probably already know where this is going. Ask any mechanic in Canada off the record what they'd actually own with their own money in winter, not what they'd tell someone to buy, what they'd buy. A lot of us say Subaru. Here's what makes Subaru different, and it's important, Subaru doesn't make cars for everywhere. They make cars for here. They make cars for Canada. The symmetrical all-wheel drive, it's not an option. It's standard. Every Subaru that leaves the factory has got the whole drivetrain engineered to dig in when it needs to. That's not marketing. That's engineering that solves a real problem. In winter, on ice, in deep snow, a Subaru Outback or a Forester just works differently. The weight distribution is lower, the grip is distributed all 4 directions, and the driver feels it. You feel it in your hands. That's confidence. And confidence in winter in Canada isn't a luxury. It's survival. I've got Subarus in here with 380,000 kilometers. The engines don't blow. The transmissions are good. The boxer engines, yeah, they're different, they're weird to work on sometimes, but they're durable. Subaru's been building the same basic engine architecture since the 90s. That's refinement. That's knowledge that doesn't disappear. The real crew that trusts Subaru. The gray nomads. The people towing 3 tons across the Rockies. They show up in Subarus. They always come back. That tells you something. Now, here's the honest other side, Subaru's expensive to maintain compared to Honda or Mazda. Your annual service will run you more. Parts are pricier. And if you're just doing city driving on cleaned roads, you're paying for capability you don't need. The cost-benefit tilts the other way. Also, and this is real, some recent Subarus have had issues with cracking suspension towers. It's a specific problem on certain model years. If you're buying used, get underneath. Look at it. But here's what matters, Subaru's resale in Canada is rock solid. You'll get your money back. The warranty's good. And if you're in a place where winter isn't a 3-day event, if it's a 6-month reality, Subaru's the engineering that actually handles it. In my shop, if someone walks in tomorrow and says, "Jack, I need something that's going to get me and my family through 30 years of Canadian winters without breaking," I'm pointing them at a Subaru. And I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Toyota section, honesty matters. Before the Toyota faithful melt the comments, let me give credit where it's due. Because fair's fair, and I owe you honesty both ways. Toyota still wins 3 things, and they're not small. 1. Resale. Nothing on the planet holds value like a Hilux or a 4Runner or a Land Cruiser. You'll pay premium at the gate, but you'll get premium back. Sometimes that makes the Toyota the cheaper truck to own over 5-6 years when you do the full math. Run those numbers before you sign. 2. Parts everywhere. You break down at a gas station in Yellowknife, in a crossroads in rural Quebec, someone can get you a Toyota part. That network is real. That's infrastructure. The other brands are getting there, but Toyota's already there. And in a country this spread out, that's a genuine advantage. 3. They fixed it. The DPF scandal a few years back, that diesel particulate filter that was clogging. Toyota extended the warranty, put in manual Regan buttons, and sorted it. The engine underneath wasn't junk. The filter setup was bad, and they fixed it. I respect that. So I'm not telling anyone never to buy a Toyota. I'm telling you to stop buying one because you're not thinking. Because the moment you stop thinking, the moment you close your eyes and buy the badge, that's when you get caught out. I've seen it happen. 30 years, I've watched good people make expensive mistakes because they thought the logo meant they didn't have to check. Closing, so there it is. 4 brands. Mazda, Honda, Hyundai, and the one I'd buy myself with my own hard-earned, Subaru. These will go the distance alongside any Toyota. They'll handle our winters the same. They'll sit on my hoist no more or less than the big names. And they'll leave money in your pocket on the way through. Thousands of it. The badge isn't magic. It never was. The math is, buy the one that suits the job, that works where you live, that makes sense for how you drive. Look after it the way you'd look after a good dog. Keep it serviced, keep it maintained, don't push it past what it's built for. And it'll look after you. That's the whole game. I've watched it play out for 30 years in this shop. I've seen everything that badge is supposed to mean get backed up or thrown away by what actually happens when I lift it on the hoist. Now, I want to hear from you. Because you lot know things I don't. What's the highest kilometer vehicle you've ever owned? And what brand was on the badge? Drop it in the comments. I read them. All of them. And if you want a real answer about your truck, your question, if you want someone who's actually spent 3 decades fixing these things to tell you the truth, that's what we do here. If a mechanic telling you straight, with nothing to sell, with just 30 years of seeing what actually lasts, if that's worth something to you, hit that subscribe button. And more than that, look after the thing that gets you from one place to the next. Because it gets you home. I'm Jack. Welcome to the channel.